There she is. There she is. Okay, so what I did today was I printed out a bunch of these so you guys can grade. Okay. So what we're going to do today is practice grading the BESS. Before we do this, how many people feel better about it than you did when you first filled out that survey that I had you do before? Yeah? Question?
No, I feel confident. I feel better.
Oh, you feel confident. That was a very confident raise actually right there. So that's good. I'm glad that you feel more confident about it. There's a lot of people that didn't raise their hand though. So what questions for the people that didn't raise their hand, what do you still not feel confident about?
Not so much about not feeling confident. I just haven't had a chance to do one yet.
Got it. Okay. So not a lot of practice.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is like, it's just something that takes time to
Yeah.
correct.
100% you are correct about that. I should probably, oh, it is recording. Okay, we're good.
I'm confident about understanding it.
Yep. So when you talk about it, what are the things that, like the errors that we need to know to be able to grade this correctly? Yeah, what are the errors?
Isn't it like, so their body, if it goes like 30 degrees in one direction,
Yeah.
if they bring their leg lift, if they bring it out too far?
Yeah, so 30 degrees or more trunk lean, or like abduction, adduction kind of thing, if they're, so they need to like kind of hold the position, right? So that's one, 30 degrees of motion.
If they take off their hands and they go up.
Yep, hands, that's 2.
Opening eyes.
Opening eyes is 3. Yep, like they call it kind of the step, stumble, fall, right? So putting feet where they're not supposed to be, that's 4.
If they head or leave that has.
So, oh yeah,
Like
that
heel.
heads or heel,
If they're not in position for longer than 5.
5. So they're out of position for more than 5 seconds. And what does that one do? How does that one work? Yep, and that's an additional point for every 5 seconds they're out, right? So that can be added on. For really, we're only gonna add up to maybe 2 seconds, right? Because if it's 3, then what?
They
Yeah, because if we added 3 extra points, how many seconds were they out?
15.
15, and if you're out 15, when does the 10-second rule come in? If they can't maintain the position for at least 5 consecutive seconds, right? So if they're out for 15 or more seconds, there's no way they held it for at least 5. So then that's when we kind of get rid of all the other errors and they just get the automatic 10. That makes sense how we do that? Okay, so there's 6 1-point error rules. And then there's the second 5-second rule that is the automatic 10, which is why we really, really need to pay attention to time when we do this, because we have to be looking at how long they're out during it, but then also how long they're able to hold it, right? A lot of people that I use my timer or my stopwatch on my watch, but a lot of people in my lab use the stopwatch on their phones, and then they hit lap every time people go out and then come back in again. So that way they don't have to like keep track in their head the actual seconds. When they're done, they can just look at it to see, okay, I hit it when we started, when they closed their eyes. Then I hit it again when they fell out. Then I hit it again when they got back in. And I hit it again when they fell out, and again when they got back in. So then you just need to make sure that you can keep track of the ins and outs and where the 5 seconds are falling. That, by the way, for me, doesn't work very well because I get like a trigger finger and I start hitting it when I'm not supposed to be hitting it. So then it kind of messes things up. But a lot of other people are far better at it than I am when I do that kind of stuff. But that is certainly something that I would encourage people to do if that's something that works out for you and seems to be kind of easy. So those are our rules. What position, like what things are always the same no matter what condition it is? So what are the things that we're gonna tell them that are gonna be the same every single time?
Oh, you're gonna like have your shoes off.
Shoes off.
Hands off hips, fingers forward.
Hands on hips, always forward, eyes closed. And as soon as they close their eyes, we're gonna start a timer. How long are we doing it? 20 seconds for every condition. How many conditions? 6. We do 3 things on the floor and then we repeat them on the foam pad. If we're doing a modified, how is the modified different from the full BESS?
It's just firm.
Yeah, it's just the firm. So we still do all 3 conditions, all the rules, all the body positions, all the stances, everything is still the same. But we just take out the foam because when do we usually do the modified? Sideline. We very rarely have one of these dudes on the sideline. Okay, good. So for that stuff, on here, why on the sheet that I gave you, does it ask about dominant side? Which side do they stand on? Non-dominant, and we talked last time about how we figure that out, right? Which is the dominant versus the non-dominant. Does anybody have questions about that? Okay. So then it talks about surface. Why does it matter what kind of surface they're standing on? Sure, yeah. And if they're standing on grass, how perfectly level is that normally? It's not, so that can kind of throw things off a little bit, right? And if the thing on here doesn't exist, then you can try to mix that up a little bit. And then footwear, barefoot, socks, shoes, if they are coming out of, say, a soccer game or a football game or a softball game, what do you need to do this? Take off their cleats, for sure, because cleats are really gonna make it unstable and very different from their baseline. What else might they also have? Their equipment, certainly wearing like shoulder pads and helmets are gonna throw this off. If they have ankle tape or anything else, ankle braces and stuff, those should also come off. And why should those come off? Yeah, they're gonna change the stability and they're going to give them extra proprioceptive sensations, right? So they're gonna feel the pressure on their ankle from either the tape or from the ankle braces as they do stuff. So we wanna make sure that we relieve that. Okay. Do we always do it in order? You don't have to, but I would say basically everybody does in real life, because it's just easier, right? Like we don't usually bounce back and forth between the like hard foam and that kind of thing. We just roll through the hard surface and then we go to the foam and do everything up there. I personally have never wavered from that. I don't know about other people, but yeah. Okay. Always make sure it says your name and subject's name, i.e. athlete's name and the date. What is not on here that I would strongly recommend that you include? Age is good. Sport. Potentially weight. What are things that something that you could get without even having to talk to the patient?
Baseline or, no,
At the time that you're doing this, literally the time.
nothing.
Mechanism. No, I mean like put the time on here.
Oh,
Why do you want to put the time on here?
because if it's later in the day, then it'll be more 50.
It could be, but also you should have noted the time of their injury. And then if you note the time that you do this, then you can see how far away it was. And then kind of track from there, right? Because do you always do this evaluation immediately following their potential injury? It could be minutes, hours, days, hopefully not more than that away from their injury, but it has been known to happen before. Okay? So how far out does this actually work for people if we're gonna assess them to see if there's differences?
Like 2 to 3 days. Like that 3 days of terms.
Yeah, usually by like 3 days. For some people, if they're really off, we'll see differences up to maybe 5. But most people, if we don't do it within the first couple of days after their injury, our chances of seeing differences are really small. The other thing that I want to ask about this is, will you expect to see worse scores on everybody, even if you do it immediately following their injury, compared to their baseline? Why not?
Balance isn't always the thing that.
Yeah, there's lots of other stuff that can get messed up, right? So I've actually had several people who have better post-injury scores than they had at baseline. Because we also take into account practice effect, and like we talked about last time, maybe they're working out, maybe they're working on balance in their sport, maybe they've gotten stronger, like there could be a lot of other things that play into it, right? So for all of the measures we talk about, just because it's not different doesn't mean that they're not concussed. It just might mean that this is one of the areas that isn't as effective, okay? One of the things that you should note from baseline, and hopefully you guys travel with this stuff, is their side that they were tested with at baseline. You want to make sure that you know if they stood on their left leg at baseline, that they're standing on their left leg post-injury, because that can also make a difference between their right and left side. Okay. Okay. Any other questions about this? Fabulous. Who wants to balance first? I'm going to see if I can make this happen. How can I do this so everybody can see? We're going to go, because I need you guys to be able to see her straight on. But if I do that, then you guys can't see her. So that's true. Let's do that. Okay, you guys come this way. All right, come on. I'll turn on the light so we can see what we're doing. And let there be light. Oh, no, I need your feet.
Still waiting for it.
No, you're not. Actually, let's pull the table that way. So I'm not trying to have you head on. Okay. So when we do this, always we need to be in an open space, yes? So that way we can see what's happening. And also make sure that they're not at risk for slamming their head. Please don't slam your head in that table. Normally I wouldn't have people do it that close to a table. This is a safety thing, but this is also a balance assessment as we do it. So as we're doing it, does everybody have a timer? Because you need a timer available.
Are you gonna keep your socks on? What? Are you gonna keep your socks on?
I take them off. My name is Genesis. I'm female, 23 years old. 23. I'm 22.
Are you, what's your dominant leg?
My dominant leg is left.
Are you gonna keep your socks on as well?
I'm gonna keep my socks on.
I hate you. All right, I'm just doing it on here. I still haven't figured out my watch fully yet. I'm working on it. All right. So how do you know it's left?
Because when I kick the kickball,
Got it.
they can use both legs.
If they say they're ambidextrous, what did we say about that? Ambidextrous with their feet, I mean, not with their hands.
We were gonna kick a goal for the game-winning national title or whatever what they would choose.
Yeah. If they're going to be all kinds of crazy about it, I'll be like, let's be serious. If you're going to try to win a national or a world championship, which one are you going with? Or how else do we do it? Push them in the back or ask them to lean forward with their feet and see which one they step forward with. The one that they step forward with is going to be their dominant leg. Yep. Yeah. It's your left every time?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're on a hard surface, socks. Okay, Brittany, give her the directions for this particular thing.
Okay, so you're gonna stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Your fingers are gonna sit, hands on your hips, thumbs in the back. And then you're gonna stand for 20 seconds with your eyes closed. Try not to lose your balance. If you have to, go ahead and reset, keep going, and I'll tell you when to stop.
What should we correct in this position?
Feet together.
Feet together, yep, so very close, but squeeze those feet together, they need to be touching. Can everybody do this really easily? There are people that we, like lots of our athletes who struggle to get their feet together because either they have big thighs or they have big calves or they're really genu valgum. So you are going to ask them to do as best as they can to get in this position. If they can't perfectly touch them, then that they absolutely have to be a 10. Nope, because they couldn't do it in the beginning, so you just grade them from where they are, but you ask them to get as close as they possibly can when they do that. The other thing that I'm going to point out to you guys is when we're grading, if people start in the wrong position and we don't correct them, is that their fault? So should we give them a 10
No.
for not being, no, we should not. So before the trial actually starts, we need to stop and correct them and tell them to realign their feet or fix their knee angle or put their hands in a better position or whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing before we hit the timer. Because we're grading in some of the videos when you guys look at them, and then also when we're just grading people in general, don't punish people for us not explaining things well enough that they're doing things correctly. Okay? So, and it's always okay to redo a trial as well. Okay? All right, so hands on hips. When do we start the timer?
When she closes her eyes.
Yeah, when she closes her eyes. What everybody get? I hope so. Very, very rarely ever does somebody mess this one up. And when they do, it's because they're drunk or something. I don't know. Like if people just don't get anything above a 0 in this one, and I'm trying to, we're working on publishing a paper right now that throws out both of the double leg stances because I think they're a huge waste of time. Even after concussion, people don't mess these up. Yeah. All right. Jesus, next condition.
All right, so I want you to put your dominant heel in front of your face on it. So your dominant is your left. And then get your down position, and then when you're ready, close your eyes, and we'll go for another 20 seconds. We'll take one stop. One stop.
So what is actually condition 2? Single leg. Yep. So, and the other thing that I would caution you guys in saying is dominant versus non-dominant. that makes sense to us, but there's a whole bunch of other people that are like, huh? So what could you say instead?
You're
Just-
keeping.
I would just say your right and left. Just say your right and left leg. Like I circled right, that means she has to stand on her left. So stand on your left leg and bend your right? That's what we're gonna tell her to do. Or stand on her left and bend her right. Sorry, I circled right and yeah. So stand on your right. I don't want you to squeeze your legs together. So you don't want them squeezing or wrapping their legs together. Those are no-nos when they do it. I want you to hold your hip kind of in this like position and then make sure you bend your leg. Yeah, so that way it's kind of flat with the ground. Keep it there. And then if you start to lose your balance, just put your foot down or do whatever you need to do, but then get back in position as quick as you can. Keep your hands on your hips and your eyes closed as best you can for the whole trial. Doing these kinds of things does not help you get a better score. So if you're out of position, you're out of position. Just get back in position as quick as you can. Okay? All right. So go ahead and get in position. And then when you close your eyes, we'll start. Time. All right, what'd y'all get?
8.
2.
2.
Anytime I saw her leg like come out a little bit. I
Yep.
counted that.
So 30 degrees is 30 degrees. So this is 90, this is 45, 30 is still way out here. So for her, her touch, when she put her foot down was 1. And then at the very end at like 19 seconds, when she brought her leg out like that, that was past 30. So those were your 2 that you had. When she extended her knee a little bit, that wasn't a point because they can do that because it didn't actually touch the ground and it didn't move her hip out or in.
Yeah, she touched her foot twice and then went out,
And then
came out to the
went
side.
She touched it and then went out and then.
I think it's because she was adjusting herself though. That's only counts as 1. Is that what you're
Because
talking
your
about?
leg kicked all the way out, and then when she did that, she brought it back in the touch. So that's
Those, if they all happen simultaneously, it's just 1.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, yeah. Okay. So, want to describe this condition again, Jesus?
We're gonna put our left heel in front of our big toe on our right leg. And we're gonna hold that position for 20 seconds. When you're ready, close your eyes. That's when we'll start.
Which toe do they put it in front of?
Sit second.
Second toe. And the other thing that I would make sure that you tell them is that their weight, sorry, I'm gonna touch you, should be evenly distributed because if they're all the way back on their back leg or if they're all the way forward on their front leg, it's gonna kind of change things. So you wanna make sure they're kind of in the middle. And people sometimes, they'll ask if they can be like with their knees bent. So they'll try to like do it like this or the double, like they feel some reason like being in like a ready stance is better for them. They don't have to have their knees completely locked out, but they should be pretty straight when they're doing this stuff, okay? Yeah. Okay, so what's one other thing that I might maybe fix with her? Although it's pretty good for most of you guys, just not me. If I'm standing here, is this a good position for me? Yeah, so where you guys are at is pretty good, right? And why is it better to be off to the side for the tandem stance?
You can see both feet.
Yeah, because if you're looking at this camera, what is going to be problematic for me? Yeah, I'm not going to see that back foot at all. And so, but do I want to have her fully sideways? Because can I see if she's sideways? This stuff is going to be really hard to see, right? And I won't be able to see her far hand. So if her hand comes off, if she does, really anything with her far eye or her leaning stuff, I'm not going to be able to see it. So I want her to be almost at like a 20-degree angle from me. So I can move or she can move, whatever it is, but that's what we need to have happen. So that way we're able to see everything that's going on. Yeah? Okay, since most of you guys are at an angle, I'll just have her stay straight ahead, so then we can kind of go from there, okay? All right, so evenly distributed, 20 seconds. When you're ready, close your eyes. What's her score?
2.
What were her errors?
She looked
Good
at
for
her
that foot.
foot up and
I got one.
The 2. So her foot like moved and like the whole thing, right? Kind of around 8 point something seconds. And then it took her about 3 seconds to get back in and put it in place. And then at the very end, she like shuffled her foot again, right? As she moved it. Those were her 2 errors.
Okay, so when do you count the metatarsal?
So,
Because like
yeah.
I see her like big toe coming up, so like do you count that?
So if, all right, you can do this all day. They can play the piano for all I care when they're doing stuff. And it actually goes like this, or this, or this, or this. So you're actually going to see like the bottom part of their foot. Some, does that make sense? So their foot, like, they can be Liberace with their toes all day long. And they're also they're gonna wibble wobble. Like they're going to go back and forth, especially once we get on the Air-X, they're gonna do like a whole bunch of like foot wiggle stuff. But it's not until they actually come up, the actual met heads, not just the toes come up, that we're actually assigning it.
And does it have to be the whole side or can it just be one, like
It's hard to just have like your first met head come up. I mean, it's possible, but like I've had people that have just done like that or just that a little bit. But in general, they'll kind of like rock. But if it's just like their toes coming into flexion extension kind of stuff, that's okay. Or if they're just kind of like rocking on them, that's also okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. These are all good questions. These are all things that we need to hammer out. All right. So now, yes, thank you. Thank you, athlete, for being smart and knowing that you had to do that. All right, Victoria,
yes.
explain to our person.
Alright, so this would be like the very first one we did, just on the pad, so I need your feet to be touching. Hands on your hip bones again, up straight, and we'll start the timer when your eyes are closed. You're gonna stand another 20 seconds.
Yep. What do we get?
0.
I have a 0. What did you have?
Left foot.
She had a little bit of kind of movement,
Yeah,
right,
I
with
thought it
it?
was too high though. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And with that one, I would say it may or may not be fair of me, but often on this one, I give people kind of benefit of the doubt. One of the things that we need to be careful about, I usually tell people at the very beginning, please get on here and see what it feels like, because not everybody's always stood on one of these before. And I've actually had people, especially during this one, get on. Go ahead and just get your feet together. No, get your feet together. And because they don't really know what to do, they actually start bouncing when they do it. And I'm like, what are you doing? No, we're not bouncing while we're doing these things. So they're like, but it just moves me around. And I'm like, I don't care. You're not doing it. Or I'll get people that get just like, hold on to you, but they just get like this like really big movement thing and they start like wavering. But as long as they're not like leaning at their waist and moving, then in general, they're okay. But I've seen people have quite a bit of movement. The other thing that sometimes happens is, and again, this happens a lot with like our bigger calf or leg people, that sometimes we start seeing like they're really focused on squeezing them together in the very beginning, but over time, they're just trying to focus on standing up. And so what we sometimes see is a little space starts to form in between their feet as they relax outwards a little bit. In general, I usually don't give them errors for that. I just say out loud, squeeze your feet together, and then they're like, and then they'll bring them back together, but they're not actually shuffling their feet, right? If they shimmied their feet across the thing, in that case, I would give a point. But if they're just kind of like rocking to the outside because they're normally like a Pez person or a supinator anyway, I don't give them errors for that. Does that make sense? But if people are actually shifting or purposely pulling their feet apart, then that is an error. Okay? All right. So, Emily, next.
So the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna stand on your right foot, and you're gonna bring up your left foot and have it about even, yeah, like that. We're gonna start the time whenever your eyes are closed. It's gonna be another 20 seconds.
Yeah, and before you start, a couple of things that I add to that are, this one and the next one are much more difficult than anything we've done yet. We are not in the habit of giving concussions while we are doing baseline testing, so if you feel like you're out of balance, absolutely open your eyes, put your foot down and get your balance. We need to be safe while we're doing this. That's not a bad thing to do. So if at any point in time you're out of sorts, that's what you're gonna do, okay? Okay. So, and again, doing the crazy things, not helping your score. So just put your foot down, okay? And I would definitely point that out because some people are like, I'm going to be a rock on here. And there are people, I've had some people that have scored a 3 total for the BESS, which is a very low score for the BESS. So there are some people that are amazing at this, but most people are scoring above. Okay, when you're ready. Time. Why is it a 10? Yeah, she never held it, right? She never held it for, I think the longest was maybe 2.5 seconds. Yeah. So the other thing that I want to point out is for the BESS, the highest score besides a 10 that I've given out once I learned how to do this right is maybe a 7 for any one condition. Why? Why are 8s and 9s almost impossible?
Because you count things simultaneously.
Yep, so you count them together, and then, so it takes about a second for them to fall out and almost a second to get back in. So if we have an 8, how many seconds were they basically out? 16. So could they get anything below a 10? If they're out for 16 seconds, that doesn't give them 5 seconds to be in consecutively, right? So doing anything like a 7 is really about the highest individual like condition error that you can really give, because otherwise they're like tapping, like they're doing like the horse tap thing, or they're doing something else, so they're not actually holding the position for long enough to actually call it reestablishing their original position.
So if she, they do it simultaneously, so if she like, if she lost position, like her foot came up, but then she also like put her leg out to 30 degrees, so like would that be 2 or would that be 1?
So if she's here, hold on, and then I'm gonna just kind of hold her. So we're gonna be here, if she's standing and balancing, and she goes like this and steps and comes off and her eyes open and all that stuff happens, and then she gets back into position again, that all was 1.
Okay.
If she is out for more than 5 seconds, so she does all these things, and then she comes back and then falls out again and comes back and falls out again, and it takes her like 7 seconds to get in. Now she has 2 errors, because she has the 1 for falling out and doing all those things over and over and over because she never actually reestablished her position. And she has the 2nd error because she was out for more than 5 seconds. So until she reestablishes herself back in this exact same position, everything she does from the time she falls out till the time she gets back here is a single error. And that's why we have the first 5-second rule, because otherwise people are a hot mess all over the place and they're touching and they're doing all kinds of things over and over, but they only got 1 point. Does that make sense? So that's why we need the first 5-second rule to kind of even it out a little bit. Yeah? Okay. Okay. So, Selena,
Okay, this one you're gonna do like you did in the first one, you're gonna be on Eric's pad with your right foot back, and your left foot is gonna be, your left heel is gonna be lined up in your second toe. And you're gonna have your hands on your hips and your eyes closed. And you're gonna follow the same directions that we gave you. So when you feel ready, you're gonna close your eyes and we're gonna start the time.
for this one, I tell everybody, in my opinion, this is the hardest of all the conditions because nobody stands in this position, right? Like we just don't naturally do that. So again, the other thing I tell them is if they lose their footing, they need to open their eyes no matter what, because to get your feet perfectly lined back up again is almost impossible with your eyes closed. So if either foot moves, open your eyes. Okay? All right, here we go. When you're ready. Ooh, I hope people kept track. What you have? What were her errors?
So stepped out like 3 times-ish, and then I kind of wanted to like lean off on it, like right before she stepped out.
Was she ever out for more than 5 seconds?
She was up for about 10 seconds. 11, 2.
Was it 10 seconds or was it less than 10 seconds?
I got up to, actually, I got about 12 seconds before she got back.
Okay. For the whole time? So she was out from the beginning until 12 seconds?
No, she was up for about 10 seconds because she got on for about two seconds I counted, but I could be off. So she was up for about 10 seconds.
Okay.
I counted, but I could be off.
Anybody else?
I got like 3, but depending on, I didn't have stopwatch, so depending on how long she was not out of position,
Yeah.
it could have been up to 5.
Yeah.
But 3 errors, step out errors,
Mhm.
but then 2 potential 5-second rules.
Okay.
Possibly, I didn't have.
So you have a 4 or a 5,
Pretty
maybe.
much, yeah.
A 3 to a 5.
3 to 5, yeah.
Anybody else?
I thought it was a 3.
So I have her at a 4. 3 errors, and one of her middle ones was almost 7 seconds that she stayed out. Yeah, because she fell out and got back in, right? Then fell out and just kind of stayed out for a while, then got back in, and then had an issue with the breathing. So, yeah, that's what I have for her. Okay, all right. So, next. Who's gonna do it? All right.
Your socks on? What's your non-dominant, or what is your dominant?
The right is your dominant.
Yeah, it's
You
weird.
kick
'Cause
with your right?
I did soccer with my right, but I did gymnastics with my left.
Oh, you're a goofy-footed person. So you would call, which one do you call your dominant? Your right or your left?
That's my right. Left.
So left is left is dominant, so her right then is Her left is dominant, so her right is non-dominant, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Sasha, directions.
Alright, so I'm gonna stand with your feet together. I'm gonna have your hands on your hips. You'll have your eyes closed for 20 seconds. Try to keep your balance for the whole 20 seconds.
Got it? What did everybody get?
No.
I hope so. Okay. I was gonna say Sarah, but Sarah's not here today, so the other S.
So you said you're gonna kick the ball with your right foot, so you're gonna stand on your left leg.
Flip. When I pushed her in the back, she stepped with her left.
So you're gonna stand on your right leg. You're gonna wanna pick up your legs where it's like parallel with the floor, and then you're gonna have your hands on your hip. You're gonna time it for 20 seconds, and then you close your eyes, we're gonna go.
Fine.
3.
I was gonna say 2 or 3.
You gotta write down a single number
I
on your
know.
paper. So what did you guys see? What errors did you see?
Just straight foot down twice, or no, sorry. One of her hands came off her hip, or, at the same time, her foot touched.
Uh-huh.
I got the touch, the hand, and then at the end, right when you said climb, foot touch again, so does that count?
No, she was way past 20. Nobody else is saying time, so I'm just eventually saying it. So she was at like 21 seconds when I finally said
So I would go 2.
2. Yeah. Okay. Takaria.
Okay, so you're gonna stand with your left leg is down. So you're gonna have your left leg in the back and you're gonna touch your other one. Your left leg in the front, and you're gonna touch your heel to the second toe on your back foot. You're gonna put your hands on your hips and then close your eyes whenever you are ready.
What'd y'all get?
2.
I got 1.
Her heel came off the ground.
2. Hand, and then a separate time, her back heel came up off the ground. Which is, again, why it's important that we're sideways. Also, one thing that I haven't said yet, how far away, we talked about it in the past, but I didn't say it today, how far away do you need to be away from this person to actually be able to see everything?
Yeah.
At least 10 feet, because if I'm standing here, I mean, I'm only at like 4 feet, right? But there's no way I can see what her eyes and her hands and her feet are doing, just standing this close, right? So we need to be far away. And in truth, one of the things that everybody forgets, and we're not doing it because people are trying to grade from all sides, but in truth, you should always have a spotter standing about this far away from the person. If you guys look at the directions, it says spotter in the directions, because if they start to lose their balance, especially if they're concussed, you need to have somebody be there to catch them. So of the equipment that you need an Airx, you need a timer, you need the directions, you need the score sheet, and you need a third person to hold them, or spot the spotter. Yeah, okay. All right, who hasn't Oh, yeah, we'll just do that whole table. Whoever wants to go first and second.
I'll go.
Oh, wait, you just did it, Sasha. You did it already.
Okay, so this next one, first on the X pad, and see how you feel on it. Okay. Okay,
Squishy.
so you're gonna put your feet as close as you can together. Okay, hands on hip. Try to keep your balance with your eyes closed. If you have to step off, please do. Try not to hit your head on anything around you. We'll begin with your eyes are closed.
Anything?
No.
Good job. It's a little harder than it looks though, huh?
Yes.
People are like, you're just standing still, whatever. And you're
Especially
like,
the eyes closed.
yeah, yep, it adds a whole new level of difficulty. Has everybody given directions?
Yes.
All right. Okay, here we go. These are harder. You're going to put your right foot down. Bend your left leg like so. Keep your shin parallel to the ground, hands on your hips. If you feel like you're gonna lose your balance, open your eyes, put your foot down, get your balance, get back in position as quick as you can. When you're ready, close your eyes and we'll start. Bend your knee a little bit more. Fine. Yeah, 1-7. Yeah, she didn't never made the full 10 or 5 seconds. She was close, but yeah, so for her it would be a 10. Okay. All right. This last one, left foot is going to be in, yep, thank you. Lining up with the second toe. Again, if you lose your balance, definitely open your eyes to get your feet realigned, okay? When you close your eyes. This is how you do basic. What you get?
I was gonna say 2.
So what'd she get 2 for?
This time she fell off and she leaned real hard and did a bunch of stuff.
She was actually out for over 5 seconds for one of them, so it would have put her up to a 3 because she couldn't get her balance back in time. So that would have put her at a 3. But then she got back in around 11 seconds and then held it for the rest of the time, which is what made it so that way she didn't get anything more than that. Yep. Good. Good, guys. So does that make sense? Like what you're looking for? Does that help clarify some of your questions about the BESS and how we're doing stuff and stuff like that? Okay, good. That was kind of the point of doing that. So, on Monday, we'll just meet up here, and our point of Monday is to go over anything that you guys feel uncomfortable with, questions, stuff like that, for the final or in general, if there's anything that you guys have questions about. But if you can send me stuff by like, I don't know, noon on Saturday or the latest Sunday, so that way you can kind of try to get some stuff together. If there's anything in particular that you guys want to talk about, I'm happy to do that. Okay? Okay. Have a great weekend, guys.
I know for myself that I was here that Monday that y'all did, Sarah said y'all did like make Emily like